G'day, this is Captain Noob, and that big old two-shot explosive nerf patch has finally rolled around, so I'm doing this video just to compare and contrast what these weapons were like pre-patch and post-patch, and to see if these things are still viable even after they've been butchered by Bethesda. So in my inventory I've got a various amount of explosive and non-explosive weapons just to see how this thing goes, so we'll just throw a build together nice and quickly. We've got everything set up including Bloody Mess, so we'll just be alternating between the Commando and the Rifleman perk. So looking over the Commando stuff, we've just got the handmade rifle here doing 92 damage as kind of our baseline, so that's exactly what it was pre-patched. Okay, so first of all we've got ourselves this explosive 10mm submachine gun. It was a pretty decent weapon when I used it, and the base damage of that pre-patch without all the perks was 84 according to my notes, and the maximum damage I got out of that was 233. Now this with max perks, that's less than half of the damage, but it's still quite a lot of damage. That's at least a little bit more than your Furious handmade rifle, but still, huge nerf there. Moving on to the TSC Prime Handmade, this one did 195 damage base and 469 perked pre-patch, but now it's only doing 153 damage all up, which is, yeah, heaps less than its base damage in the first place, so yeah, a heavy nerf for this one. So I've looked at explosive on its own, but this one is just a two-shot, and pre-patch it was doing 64 minimum damage, then perked up we got it to 118, and now it is doing 58 damage, which is not too far away from its unperked variant pre-patch, but still, another heavy nerf there. So here we are with the Rifleman build, just switch over some perk cards and having a look at our little explosive hunting rifle here. So pre-patch this thing did 175 damage minimum, and with it perked I got 483, and now it is sitting at 211 fully perked, so a pretty big nerf. Not as bad for this one obviously because the multiplier for explosive is based on base damage. This thing has a relatively high base damage, so not really seeing too much of that nerf there, but it is a low rate of fire weapon still, so the DPS is going to be significantly lower, despite the damage looking okay. Next up, the two-shot explosive lever-action rifle, originally doing 338 damage, no perks, and 934 damage with all perks. This one is sitting at 270, which is actually not that bad. You can probably still get away with using this despite it not being the greatest, but yeah. Two-shot explosive radium rifle having a lower base damage is heavily nerfed. Originally this was doing 251 minimum and 461 with all of the perks. Now it's only doing 61 damage, and the radiation damage hasn't changed, so this thing, yeah, it's not great. Two-shot explosive Gauss rifle originally gave us 633 damage unperked and 1750 damage perked, but now we're only doing 255 with this, which is honestly incredibly weak for a Gauss rifle, even with the prime capacitors. Yikes. Compared to a lot of the other ones, the Dragon still holds up pretty well, but in comparison to what it was like before, it has been heavily nerfed. So originally we had 905 damage unperked and 2501 damage perked, and now we're only getting just shy of 700 damage, so yeah, even less reason to use this now that it's not completely overpowered like it was before. Okay, so a little bit of testing, I figured out that the two-shot explosive lever-action rifle is probably my best bet when going for a Rifleman build. This thing has a decent balance of damage, rate of fire, and general usability, so that's what we're going to be using. So we'll charge in and take out these super mutants, and yeah, be prepared to see a very, very different two-shot explosive lever-action rifle. But we're going to be using Stealth Rifleman, so hopefully if all goes well we can just avoid contact altogether with these guys and just nail snake attack criticals, so we can continue to one-shot all of these super mutants after the patch. Yes, that's pretty good. So far so good, haven't been quite detected yet. Winter's pretty much invisible to these guys anyway, so oh, there we go. Even with a sneak attack crit, they didn't exactly kill that legendary guy. So it's back to tanky Fallout enemies, which I cannot say that I missed about this game. Honestly, I feel like the nerfing was a little bit too far. If they just had it exactly what it was back in Fallout 4, I think would have worked fine. Just a little bit of extra base damage on top of that. That way they wouldn't have to nerf Demolitions Expert, which means all of the grenades wouldn't be nerfed along with it for no particularly good reason whatsoever. So yeah, regardless of that, sneaking around and taking the shot a little bit more slowly is a good way to retain your ammo sources and also keep on one-shotting people. So by no means does this suck. This just means that, and you better listen up, this just means that you're actually going to have to get good at making builds to make actual damage work. Like me. So yeah, we'll test this on the Commando side. I'm going to be using their 2-shot explosive handmade. Alrighty, so testing out our Commando style with this. This is just our build, same as I had it in my other Commando video. And anyways, we'll just go ahead, blow up all of these damn cars just to alert the ghouls to our presence. And then they'll start coming out of the front door quick smart. And we'll get a quick reload in because we've got ground pounder. Where the ghouls at? Come on. Have they redone the spawns? No, they're just sleepy today. And yeah, right off the bat, this thing's not doing quite as good damage. We're not one-shotting those guys anymore, which, gangrenous ghouls you'd expect to with a 2-shot explosive weapon. Are these ghouls stupider these days? I think they might be. So, obviously, not running around one-shotting everything, but it's still viable. You can still use it. You just obviously need more bullets to take stuff down, and obviously it's not going to be easy just to stack heaps and heaps of XP anymore, because it actually takes an effort to kill these guys rather than just sitting out here and shooting at a table and letting splash damage take them out. But yeah, it's more balanced. It feels so bad though, knowing that we could be doing so much better damage with this pre-patch, but honestly, it's probably for the best that these things were fixed in the way that they are. I still would prefer it if they'd go with the explosive effect, how I remember it from Fallout 4, just adding like 15 base damage from the explosions, just like as a base, and then you could use Demolitions Expert to increase that. That way you can have a little bit more power with your explosive weapons, and then not have grenades get nerfed in the process of this. So I'm noticing that I'm getting hit a lot more with this, and that is because I just can't kill the ghouls. I have to get a little bit more distance on them because I can't one-shot these guys anymore. So I can't just pop a quick hit on these guys and quickly piss off and sprint somewhere else, because if I do that, they're just going to hit me more, and I can't shoot them too close to me. So now charging into the feral ghouls like that is a completely stupid idea. Okay, he's dead. And I'm just getting my ass kicked here, so gone are the days where you can just quickly run in and kill everything nice and easily. You might have to add a little bit of sneaking into the equation, which obviously I haven't done, so yeah. Obviously having a sneak rifleman or commando build is going to be very beneficial if you'd like to keep using these weapons as they are. You saw before how we were still one-shotting super mutant warlords, which are tanky bastards, with sneak attack criticals, so adjust your builds and the guns will still go fine. They're just not going to be as godly as they were before, which is honestly not a bad thing. Gone are the days where you can basically put a dodgy build together, not specializing in anything and doing well because you've got a 2-shot explosive weapon. Now you actually have to invest in your perks and know what you're actually doing to actually make the best out of these weapons. So you know what? I'm fine with these changes thus far. Alrighty, so this is my heavy guns girl, melee, shotguns and all that to come later. But anyways, looking at our weapons, so a Gatling Gun, I had this doing 289 damage unperked and 800 damage perked. This has gone down to 219. That's still quite a little bit of damage, and one thing that we have to thank for that is obviously the high base damage of this weapon relative to other ones. So yeah, this one doesn't actually end up being that bad. You can still get away with doing quite well with that. Obviously it's a huge nerf still, you're losing out on 600 damage, which is crazy, but there you go. On the flip side of that, you've got this one, which doesn't have a great base damage to start with, and this thing was recorded at 176 damage before patch unperked, and then when this thing was fully perked, I got 465. No nerd rage bonuses or chems, so yeah. This thing's damage has been stripped right down, almost to the point of just not ever wanting to use this thing again. It feels like you're wasting bullets using this thing. Even though it does a lot more damage than your standard one, or a little bit more damage than your standard one, you'll still be getting better bullet usage out of it, but still, you just feel like it's too much of a nerf. Some of this stuff is now kind of useless, which I guess Bethesda wants, I don't know. Anyway, so I found that obviously things with high base damage can still do alright. Take this 2-shot explosive Harpoon Gun. This one does 529 damage, which you can do pretty well with. You can one-shot legendary feral bloated ghouls if you hit them in the right spot, up close and personal with all of the little flechettes hitting it. But yeah, the reload on this thing kind of sucks, and the range of it is limited, but this one you might do alright. In a PvP situation, you'll still do well with each of these weapons because other players are always going to be squishy, so you could probably get away with using that one. That's going to be fine. I'll just give you a quick look at what damage the Gatling Gun can do. So we'll top off our mag there with an extra 6 bullets, and then we'll get started. Yeah, it takes a while to kill these guys now. The tankiness of the Fallout enemies is definitely back, but regardless of that, we're still outperforming regular guns. And have these people been cleared out? No, they've just... someone else just got disintegrated there, whatever. So, yep, up close and personal, we're doing a little bit better damage. Obviously, the accuracy of this weapon is screwing us over somewhat, but still, I don't think this weapon is so bad. Okay, half of the super mutants are dead. That's kind of annoying. Alrighty, we'll test this more extensively just on the outskirts of the West Tech facility. We'll get ourselves some adrenaline damage and we'll take on the tanky-ass super mutant warlords and we'll see how we go. Obviously, we've got the martial artist perk to help us out with rate of fire. And, whoops, we've got Born Survivor on, which kind of conflicts with Nerd Rage, but whatever. Man, he'd be so dead by now pre-patch. You could just hit him once and they'd die. But now, the inaccuracy of this weapon is going to screw you over quite a bit. So, what you could probably do instead of just holding down the trigger like a madman is just to burst fire a little bit. Obviously, with sights is a whole lot easier, but eyeing it off is, it's an easier task when you're used to actually knowing where the sort of bullets go. Maybe if you put a little bit of blue tack in the middle of your screen, you can just cheese it like that. But, yeah. You can still do pretty well with the 2-shot explosive Gatling, but on the other hand, the 2-shot explosive 50 cal machine gun I find less useful. Alrighty, let's take on the ghoulies. This time we'll be using this bad boy. Hopefully we can get their attention this time by blowing up all of the cars in the parking lot. Hopefully I can get them to spawn down here. Can I? I can hear some of them stomping around. Here we go. Oh, that explosive glitch still happens. You can't really have that in this game anymore now that these things don't do as much damage as they did before. I tolerated it before, but now it's a little bit less fun to deal with. As you can tell, with the sheer volume of bullets we're getting down range, we can still take out these guys. The problem is, though, that we're going to be running our mag dry quickly. We're using a lot more 50 cals than we would pre-patch. And don't worry, I've actually got a showcase of this weapon, what it was like pre-patch coming out, and you'll see just how much of a difference this thing makes when you actually like pre-patch. It's actually insane, but even so, we're still managing to hold the line outside of the choke point, and we did pretty well, I suppose. But keep in mind that these guys are a little bit on the squishy side, so if that had been something like Super Mutant Warlords, then maybe wouldn't have been able to get away with that as easily. And if it was a Scorch Beast, it would have just resisted all of our explosive damage because Bethesda can't make you do explosive damage on the Scorch Beast because I think it's just netcode issues. We'll get that bloke around the corner. You can still do that. So, there you have it. That's just a general idea of what the 2-shot explosive weapons are like. Not really sure if you'd like to see in the full video of their own try to take on a different enemies or the same sort of enemies pre and post patch just to get a more direct comparison, but hopefully that'll give you an idea of what they're like. And yeah, whilst this patch has certainly ruined a lot of my favorite weapons, it has certainly changed the meta a little bit. I'm sure there'll be something else coming out soon, maybe bloodied stuff, junky stuff, I'm not really sure. Hopefully it'll be more interesting than 2-shot explosive, because as powerful and as fun as they were to use, they did break the game. They were too powerful and I'm standing on nothing, and if you're in a PvP situation, you just get one-shotted and it's not very fun for either party. Well, I guess the one on the receiving end has zero fun, but the one on the giving end has heaps of fun. So yeah, I think that is about enough. I think my conclusion here is that they're still usable. You can still do well with them, except you're going to have to fix your builds now and not place perk points in irrelevant perks and have full combat mode on all the time, pretty much. So, yep, those are my thoughts on the new TSE patch. Thank you for watching, guys. Let us know what you think.